Okay, this is my video review, and it is for a Star Wars novel. It's called Thrawn Ascendancy, The Greater Good, or actually just Greater Good. I did read this on audiobook, but it's on my phone, and so I'm not quite sure how to show the cover, but I own the ebook as well, and so hopefully that counts, and I can attach a screenshot of the audiobook. Um, Hopefully that meets that criteria. As far as my review of the book, it's kind of a multifaceted review. I actually also read, this is the second book in a series, and I also audiobooked the first one, which is, I think, is it Chaos Rising? But anyway, that's not part of this review, but they're very similar, and my critique of them, I love the story. I think the characters are brilliant. They definitely fall into the fantasy category, and I actually feel like even more than some of the other Star Wars novels, they're much more fantasy than science fiction because the technology and the space travel is to me, it's almost ancillary to the rest of the story. It's more about political intrigue and the people of the world are in danger, and it's an unknown danger, and Thrawn is sent to investigate, and he's at odds with the political members of his homeworld. And if you're familiar with the characters, it's awesome if you know Thrawn, and I think even if you aren't, you'd really like this book. The negatives of it, when we get away from the story itself, if I was just reviewing the ebook, I would go on and on about the story and about Thrawn. I hated the audiobooks. I think they're terrible. They use sound effects, and and it's even when they're not necessary. I was listening to the first chapter to kind of try to refresh my memory and think about this, and it's like an engine rumbling over the introduction, and I just have no idea why that's even necessary. And sometimes the narration is quiet and the sound effects are loud. And of course, they drop in some of the epic Star Wars music, which that's okay in some places. Um, I don't like the character voicing. I've realized that, I really like books a lot more than movies, and I have a hard time watching movies about books that I like. And I know that's because my imagination has already decided what the people should look or sound like. And in this case, it ruined the books for me. He does this country bumpkin type voice for some of the people on a certain planet, and it's just, it ruins any immersion you might have in the book. Um, I'm from the country. I've never heard people that sound like that. You'd have to really try hard to sound like that, and it's terrible, quite honestly. So I did not enjoy the narration. It's almost a two-part review. I'd give it a 10 out of 10 for the story. I'd recommend anyone read it, especially if you're interested in Star Wars. I think it's a great series, and the third book's coming out, which is why I chose this. I thought if I'm going to reread these two books before I read the third one here in a couple weeks anyway, might as well try the audiobooks and knock out an assignment with them. But man, I just did not enjoy this. So, one thing and I wrote this in one of my other reviews, so I did want to touch on it because these books definitely fit it, is that Timothy Zahn seems to write really strong female characters. I'm curious if women would feel the same, but when I read it, it kind of stands out that the women are not there just you know, to be rescued or damsels in distress, but a lot of times they're the people who save the day. They're the smart ones, or they're the diplomats. Sometimes they're the warriors, but it's always seems to be there's like without that help of a woman, the men would ruin everything, and that seems to be kind of a theme. I just would be really curious if women read that the same way. Because to me, I think it would really appeal to women or maybe even younger women who might like to read that kind of character. I think that about wraps up my review. Again, read the book, probably not the audiobook. And thank you.